Hey guys, welcome to the Asian Hustle Network podcast. My name is Brian.
And my name is Maggie.
And we interview Asian entrepreneurs around the world to amplify their voices and empower Asians to pursue their dreams and goals.
We believe that each person has a message and a unique story from their entrepreneurial journey that they can share with all of us. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Asian Hustle Network podcast. Today, we have a very special guest with us. His name is Steven Dux. Steven is a day trader who turned $27,000 into almost $10 million in 7 years, with over $4 million in trades in 2020 alone. He is a mentor who has taught thousands of beginners how to day trade. Some of his students have supplemented their income and gone off to turn day trading into high 5, 6, and even 7-figure portfolios. Unlike other day trading mentors, Dux posts his trades, both wins and losses, and verifies his account statements to show full transparency behind all the trades he makes. He lives in Ohio and loves taking vacations at the beach to relax. Steven, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Steven, welcome to the show. I mean, we watched your interview on Jubilee Media a year ago. Now, at first, we were a little bit skeptical, but now we're into the system now. So, Steven.
All right.
Tell us about your upbringing and who you are.
All right. So, my name is Steven, and then they call me Dux because they can't pronounce my entire full name. So they can pronounce the first 3 letters. So that's why my last name turns out to be Dux. And talking about my trading stories, I came here when I was 16. Went to high school in Cincinnati and graduated from high school at 19. That's where I started day trading because I was in this engineering major. Of course, engineering major normally are very difficult. So I was in this founding project and we're like 50%, 60%, almost accomplished the project. And the professor said, we got no funding left. So they have to interrupt the project. And that was very disappointed because I was very interested into the project and wanted to finish it. So I thought about myself to get the funding by myself using my little tuitions I got. Because I don't have to pay the tuition until the end of the semester, but you have to pay a little bit more extra, including the interest by the end of the semester. So I used that fund at the beginning of the semester, did a whole lot of research, used my engineer mindset, tracking statistics, testing different systems for thousands of times, and pretty much learning nonstop, 10 hours a day. I think I haven't took a break for almost a year and a half, just studying the market. I think on the first 9 months, I turned 27,000 into 900,000. And there is some losses in there, but it was the growth that I wanted. Before that, and I was also experiencing some breakups and also some of the dramas that teenagers are supposed to go through. So it gave me the motivation to do it, and also a lot of family pressures as well. And from there, since I turned 27,000 to 900,000, a lot of people wants to know my stories, how I did it, what's my method. Then I started this trading service back in 2017-ish. So after that, my trading career, just personal trading performance was doing very well. And we're heading into 2020, 2021 is even better. The market is unreal at the moment. Other than that, I think I'm hitting, I don't want to say the cap of this trading industry, but I think I'm very close. So
that's awesome. And just for more context too, what did your parents say about this? And what was their upbringing like up to a certain point where they're like,
Okay, so I'm originally came from China, and Chinese parents are Asian parents. They're super strict,
Yeah.
and they want you to be very successful on your career, either as doctors, engineer, lawyers, do very well on the finance industry. So they're very against of me trading stocks. They were so I have to trade it secretly behind them and secretly using my tuition to trade it. I know it's a really risky move. But I know the system behind it because I tested thousands of times. So basically I didn't tell them for 2 years. And after 2 years, I almost graduating from college, they came over here and they saw the house and they saw the cars and they were very surprised. From that point, they have no problem with it. So yeah, that's the family story there.
That's awesome. We've seen your website and it says not good enough, not good enough, and not good enough. And underneath that says, for my girlfriend who broke up with me, for my father who waiting to prove me wrong, for this country which backed me into your corner and gave me such a few options. So let's quickly dive into the relationship you have with your dad. We heard this quickly on Jubilee Media.
Yeah.
And we're curious about this.
And then your relationship with your mom as well, because we know that I read a couple of articles where you said that you were a lot closer with your mom.
Yes. So I have a very complex family history. So all right, let's start. So at the very beginning, my mom was a very successful woman. I think she was on the top magazine for one of the most successful women in our region. And I think at that, it was in the 1980s. She was making millions of dollars. She owns restaurants, she owns hotels, and she owns tons of businesses that and because she's a woman, she attracts more businesses and people coming in to do deals with her. So after that, for a few years, my mom had my brother. At that point, I think China was still on this rule of you can only have one children. So basically, we have to pay tons of fees and my dad is also moving from the hometown to Chongqing, which is in the middle of the China. So my mom has to, kind of forced to sell all her businesses and also taking care of me and my brother, since at that time I was very young. So then my dad got all the funds. So he invested into real estate, built several, I think it was 36 floors, and I think there was like 36 buildings. Yeah. So I think he made solid amount of money, and I think it was. I never heard of the actual amount of money, but they told me it was like billions of Chinese yuan. So it's probably 100 million, 150 million. So after that point, my dad starting, because my dad came from a very poor family. So when all of a sudden that he's in this huge economy boom in China, especially in the real estate industry, he is lucky and he made tons of money, and he starts to driving away from the marriage point. So it's more like having another woman outside our family, and that caused a huge fight between me and my brother and my mom. And also I think my dad owes a lot to my mom, but he is not respecting that. So it turns out to be that we have a decent family branch. So my dad's the only one that's very successful, and everybody tends to approach to him into a very how do I say this? You have to come to ask me for me to do you a favor. So he thinks he's the the top.
Right.
Everybody needs his favor.
Yeah.
So then he tends to look at kids that way too, because he has to carry out all the kids. Like, okay, he graduated from this college. I have to go ask my friends, hey, can you guys not actually build a relationship to help this kid for his future. So he kind of looked us down into that way as well. I have to like approach to him and ask him favors, and it seemed like I'm always trying
to keep him happy and living up to his expectations.
Not like I feel like I always have to ask him stuff, and also he has to wait for me. I don't want to say beg, but it's more like turns into that way. So I was very unhappy about that. I came out to do college, and it turns out, the average expenses for outstate college student is around $60K a year. And after that, there's like dorm fees and stuff like that. So, and my brother is also coming out here as well. So it's costing him about $200,000 a year. And he's always complaining to my mom and always complaining to me that we spend too much money and we are not doing what we want, not doing what he expects. After that, I would say, okay, don't send me money anymore. Just leave me alone. So I told him that, and he stopped sending money to my brothers too, because I don't know, we kind of got abandoned. So at that point, my mom doesn't have enough money to support both of us. So I kind of running into a wall. So at that point, I was thinking about, okay, what can I do to make this happen? Also carrying out my brother and potentially carrying my mom as well. I started the job in a dorm. I think around 4 or 5 years ago, there is like a little discrimination to Asian people specifically. So all the day job got taken by, and then I have to kind of work in the midnight from, I think it's 12 a.m. to 8 p.m. And my classes starts at 9 a.m. So, 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. Yeah, and my class starts at 9. And that was very exhausted. I have to stay up for 9 hours. Also, including studies, I was only making, I think it was $8 an hour or $9 an hour. So I worked a lot. Eventually, I tend to add my money that I made from the dorm plus the money, including the tuitions, starting my trading account. Initially, it was $500. Grew it up to, I think, 1,000. Then I started again with 27,000. Went to 60,000. I actually lost the 60,000. Went from 60K to 30K again. So at that point, I started taking this really serious. Started building my data, tracking everything, and do everything that I can, and have this really, because I can't take a step back. I have to move forward. So I was trying my best, and I studied so much I even got a stomach ulcer.
Yeah, I mean, your story, there's a lot to unpack there, right? Yeah. Because thanks for sharing that. Thanks for being so vulnerable with us on this episode, because talking about family stuff is not easy. But hats off to you, for figuring out what needs to be done in order to become successful. And that tends to be a common theme among all entrepreneurs. It's that I feel like we're most creative when our bridges are burned, our options are limited, and we have no chance to succeed unless we push forward. And that seems like exactly what you did, right? Yeah. So fast forward to 19, when you started trading secretly, how'd you come up with the initial capital to trade?
Initial capital was, I think, was the tuition and the money that I worked from the dorm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What was their mindset like at that point? It was like... It
was not fun.
Could I do it? What if I lose it? What was that mindset like?
Yeah,
I never, go ahead.
Oh, how did your mindset change over time? I know you've been trading for years now. And so I would love to know, how have you changed just personally, just in terms of your mindset?
Yeah.
So I never, I have this mindset that, first of all, I can't think, what if I fail?
Yeah.
I can't think that way.
Yeah.
I have to think that I can succeed. I can do it. I have to try my best. There's nothing I can't do. That's the first mindset. The second mindset, after I made, I think, the first couple $1 million of trading education and trading by myself, I have this mindset of no matter how much money you have, you have to be, be good to your parents and always taking care of them. And money cannot change the person like my dad did back in the days. So
yeah, that's good motivation right there. And what was that big aha moment where you're like, this is I can do this,
Yeah.
You actually didn't work in like corporate jobs, right? Like in cubicle jobs, you kind of just became like your own entrepreneur after you had your dorm jobs. So
yeah, that's not easy for most people.
That's not.
So I want to hear about that.
What side you want to hear?
Oh man. I want to hear about when you're like, whoa, this is, I can do this.
Yeah, like you can do this.
Okay, so I have 3 things that I normally approach into different industries. So first of all, what I will do is I will track, for stock market specifically, I will track, okay, well, this specific action or pattern wins about anywhere between 70 to 80% of the time. That's the first thing I will track. I will track about 1,000 samples and put them together and see the similarity between them and what I can improve if I trade it, and what I can do to perfect my strategy the next time I trade it. That's the first thing I will do. The second thing I will do is I will track how many times does it happen per year. So the frequency of the entire, let's say this pattern happens about 70 times to 80 times per year. Then each time I can make about, in average, 15% to 20%. And my initial capital will be, let's say, $500. I can simulate how much I can make throughout the year, right? So, and I also have to count, we're all humans, so sometimes we're emotional, count out all those mistakes that can be potentially made in the statistics. Then I will have the minimum simulated gain I can make by the end of the year. That's where, once I found out figured out the systems and tracked all the samples, that's where I told myself I can do it. And I followed my system. That's how I made 27,000 to 900,000.
Wow. So that is awesome to hear. And out of curiosity too, trading, it's up and down type of thing, right? Whereas you make some, you make some. Mm-hmm. How have you dealt with failure, and how have you been personally transparent with that with your community? Okay, so one thing that you have to think about is when you're trading in the market, losses are a part of the journey. You cannot avoid losses. So each time, whenever I go to study from other people, and I only look at their losses because I can only learn from their losses. I never look at their wins, and I can potentially avoid the mistakes they made for themselves just by studying their mistakes. So that's why I was always transparent, because first of all, that I can learn from my losses, and other people can learn from my losses. If they only look at my wins, they will never learn anything, because there has to be losses has to be taken. You have to go through the emotional journey. Sometimes, let's say you took a loss and you feel emotional, you want to make the money back, then you go in again, but you don't know what's the reason you go in, you just want to make the money back. And I think that factor is very important in trading journey as well. So at that point, it just sounds like gambling then, right? You're doing straight emotions. Yeah. And could you share a moment with us where you had your biggest loss ever, and how did you mentally overcome that? Okay, so the biggest losses, it was actually in 2020 and 2021. So I think in 2020 I made close to $7-8 million, and in 2021 is I think $5 million so far.
but the losses has increased a lot as well, because if let's say you want to put in $2 million into this trade, your losses also amplifies if you take a loss. And then there's like a mental limit for how much you can take. So the highest losses I took before 2019 was actually around 100,000 to 150,000 per trade. Now it's approaching to like 300,000. So when I look at losses, I will look at my biggest wins and biggest losses to compare. Okay, my biggest wins definitely overruns my biggest losses. That's why I'm okay with it. But to go through that mental limit of just see that 300,000 on paper is pretty hard. So personally for me, I still have a lot of stuff to improve, and to handle losses, basically you have to start from very small. Let's say your losses per trade will be $100, then increase to 200, and I slowly went from 100 to 300,000 in the course of 7 years. Yeah,
that makes sense. Everything's high risk, high reward type of situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's a lot of our listeners on this call that don't understand how trading works. Can you kind of walk us through like the basic fundamentals and basic terminologies that we should be aware of?
Okay, so fundamentals, and normally that when you are trading, especially day trading, you don't have to look at the fundamentals, because every single company that we're trading has a bad fundamental. And that's why they're kind of penny stocks are under $5. And including all the biotechs that can potentially have contribute, or they have a potential vaccine coming out. You have to know that news is only one of the factor to make your own decisions, but 90% of the decisions actually came from the chart. You have to study the chart behavior. That's how you make a profit from, especially in this, I would say, day trading industry. Mm-hmm. That's the fundamentals, and other terminologies I can introduce. First thing will be market caps. Second thing will be flow. Flow is basically means that how many shares are available for retail traders to buy and sell. The lower the flow is and the higher the demand is, that means there's not enough shares for people to buy and sell, and there's a lot of demand. So that's why when there's a limited amount of supply and high demand, you will raise the stock price up. That's how GME was able to go, or GameStop be able to go from $20 to $500. And otherwise, there is market cap. So market cap means how much money does the stock specifically worth in the stock market. The higher the market cap is, the less, that's not, how do I say it? The less range you will create on the same day. So the more expensive the stock is, on each day can only move up 1%, move down 1%, but the lower the market cap is, the stock can move 1,000% in one day. So the more expensive the market cap is, you do not want to trade, because it doesn't give you enough range for your potential gain, especially when you have a small account.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. I know for a lot of people, trading may seem very daunting. Can you share a resource that was really helpful for you when you first started trading, and what people nowadays can look towards if they're trying to get into day trading and they're trying to look for resources? Because I think when you look online, there's just so many resources.
Yeah, I know. So there's several resources you can use. First of all, that it's called finviz.com. It's a free website. You can check out the top percent gainer. I've been using that for years. Second website you can use is sec.gov. That's where you can check out the stock fundamentals. That you can see the stock actually did an offering, or what's the stock worth in the current market, and what's the insider what's the institution ownership, stuff like that. So SEC.gov is the one to check out the fundamentals. Finviz.com is the one you can check out the chart and the flow and the market cap. So
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. Did you ever feel anxious when you first started trading, and how have you kind of changed that mindset now? Do you still get anxious when you're trading like X dollars every
yes.
single day?
Whenever you get anxious about trading, you shouldn't be trading. Everybody look for excitement, more like the gambling feeling in the market. But trading should be very boring process. Let's say, for different people is different. Like I'm comfortable losing $1,000 on this trade, and so comfortable to the point that I don't really care if I lose $1,000 on this trade, and then I made money. But it's boring because I do not care. The gains are relatively small. But if people wants to get anxious and get very excited about the stock market, they will actually go in 100,000 and make 20,000, 30,000. That's where they get very excited and they tend to make a bigger trade. And next time, that's how they lose all their money in one trade. So for me, I rarely get anxious because I'm very comfortable of how much I can lose in this trade. So.
Right. Yeah, that's very insightful. What's the most valuable thing that you've learned since becoming a millionaire?
Most valuable thing in terms of trading or in terms of?
In terms of, it could be both trading and just, on a personal level.
Okay. On a personal level, that no matter how much money you have to be humble.
Sure.
You never know one day that, I know some of the business owners that went bankrupt during this pandemic, and then were lucky. So I'm kind of lucky because I'm in the market, so it doesn't have to, relate to real businesses. So that you have to be super humble, always be wise about your money. Second, I would say valuable lesson that I learned from the market is human nature is a very important factor in the entire market. Because once you know what other people will do, that you can build a strategy to counter that. It's a very magical thing because you will never change. Let me give you an example. So let's say three of us, we bought a stock at $100. Next day it went to $1, and we're so nervous we don't know what to do, but it's already too late to sell because I'd rather hold it for a long time and wait it to come back than just sell it at $1 because I'm already taking. What's the difference taking 99% loss than 100% loss, right? So now we waited for 2 months and the stock came back to $100. What's your initial reaction? You will sell because you want to cut it even. You don't want to hold that loss no more. Yeah. At that point, you can short. So for smart people, I can short at $100 because I know what you guys will do. You guys will sell. That will create a selling pressure into the market. And I'm also short selling. So everybody is selling. The stock is going to drop. That's where short sellers makes a profit from people's, I would say, human nature. Yeah.
Wow.
No, I love that a lot.
Yeah. It's really insightful. And Steven, do you have any big goals for 2021?
We have a platform coming out. It's a stock trading platform that I want to build my strategy into the platform so it can automatically scan for me and can potentially trade for me as well. So in the future, if I retire, if I get bored about trading, not about the money, but if I get bored about trading, then the computer can trade for me. So that's my next step. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, that's really cool. And we have one last question for you, Steven, and that is, what one advice could you give to an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur?
Or someone who wants to follow into your footsteps when you were 19.
Yeah.
I would say that there's nothing that you can do if you put enough effort into it. And it's all about your effort. And also that you will know the journey is going to be very, very difficult. And there's going to be some hardship you're going to run into. But once you complete that journey, you're going to look back and you're going to laugh about it. And you're going to be proud of it. So,
love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steven.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Steven. And how can our listeners find out more about you online?
They can find out me on YouTube or stevenduxy.com. So
awesome. We'll also include that in the show notes.
Yeah.
But Steven, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
No problem.
Hearing your story, and thank you again for being so vulnerable with us. We
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
No problem. I think everybody has a vulnerable. I would say I'm willing to share it because I know other people have very similar experience. They're just not willing to share it. But if they found out my story that's very motivating, then it may give them the motivation to become the second Dux. So
Definitely.
Thank you so much, Steven.
Steven. All right. Well, thank you, Steven, and we'll hopefully catch up with you again in a year or two, see how you do.
all right, sounds good.
Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe to the show.
We would like to get to the top 10 on iTunes, so be sure to leave us a 5-star review. We release an episode every single Wednesday, so stay tuned.
Thank you guys so much.